I agree with the arrangement of marriage in order to survive, so that I could see the open sky again and what happened to the country.
This is a story of Golnaim, a male victim of forced marriage under the Khmer Rouge regime. He loved his fiancée, but was forced to marry another woman. He should have become a father, but buried his baby alone. This is what forced marriage under the Khmer Rouge did to Golnaim. This is Krahaam Podcast, a documentary storytelling journey where Cambodian Gen Z return to the Khmer Rouge regime through lived stories, honoring resilience and passing memory forward. And this season, we retrace the Khmer Rouge common purpose, the so-called Great Leap Forward, to understand how it was designed, how it unfolded, and why it still matters today. This is not only about forced marriage. It is about how a population's policy turned men into victims of legalized rape. What happened to a man when survival meant harming the woman he was ordered to marry? In this episode, the story is reported by Vath Sok Heng. This episode discusses forced marriage and gender-based violence, and may be emotionally challenging for some listeners. Please listen when you feel ready.
Golnaim already had a fiancée when Ang ordered him to marry someone else. He did not choose the woman who would become his wife. The Khmer Rouge did. Ang made the rules clear. If a couple did not consummate the marriage, they would be punished. If they did not produce children, they would be accused of disobedience. Golnaim agreed, not out of desire, but survival. In testimony before the Extraordinary Chambers in the Courts of Cambodia ECCC in 2016, he explained the fear behind their decisions, that refusing was not an option.
Had I dared to be courageous, I would have died. I don't know why, but I'm afraid they will accuse me. If I refuse to marry, I would be punished.
Golnaim's testimony shows that the Khmer Rouge common purpose reached far beyond labor and security, extending into the most intimate aspects of life. Regulations of marriage. Ang ordered couples to produce children for the revolution, stripping both men and women of sexual consent. Marriage became a political order, and the reproductions and obligations to the state to expand the revolution's future workforce, acts the court later recognized as crime against humanity. Sitting in a courtroom with headphones over his ears, Golnaim spoke softly. At first glance, he looked like any other grandfather, but his life had been shaped by choice he never made. When Golnaim spoke about the consequences of forced marriage under the Khmer Rouge regime, his voice carried a quiet grief.
My fiancée remains unmarried, and I apologize to her that I had married another woman, and that would mean that it's a dishonor on my side to her. And of course, this unsettling feeling remains with me until the present day.
In 1975, Golnaim served as a soldier in Gurje before being transferred to Mondulkiri. When his division commander and deputy commander were arrested and accused of betraying Ang, suspicion spread downward. He was sent to K11 Security Center, one of the Khmer Rouge lesser-known prisons. At K11, daily life became an exhausting cycle of fear and labor. Golnaim was ordered to transplant rice and work in the field from the early morning until late at night. sometimes until 10 or 11 o'clock. Food rations were small, rest was rare. Inside the security center, detainees were frequently accused of being intelligent agents or traders. Some were taken away and never returned. People disappeared without explanation. But at K11, control reached beyond labor. It extended into marriage, the most private part of people's life. Kol Naim was forced to give up someone he loved and to marry an assigned wife. Kol Naim's wife became pregnant, but after 5 or 6 months, she suffered a miscarriage. Kol Naim later watched his unborn child die, the child Angka ordered him to produce. He believed the cause of miscarriages was overwork, as his wife endured the same heavy labor and harsh living conditions as non-pregnant workers.
I felt angry at that time, but I kept my anger to myself. I did not express it out. We had no right to express our anger. I also did not dare to oppose them.
In Case 002/02, the court found that genuine consent was impossible under the coercive conditions of forced marriage. It concluded that forced sexual intercourse within forced marriage caused serious and long-term psychological harm to victims of all genders. Despite the 2018 verdict recognizing gender-based violence and forced consummations under the regulations of marriage as crimes against humanity, the prosecutions appealed to the Supreme Court chamber, arguing that the trial chamber failed to adequately assess whether men subjected to this policy could also be recognized as victims.
The trial chamber found that on those facts, men could not be victims of rape. Co-prosecutors do not challenge that finding, but dispute the lawfulness of the trial chamber's failure to assess whether men, in the context of those forced marriages, were subjected to sexual violence of such gravity that it could amount to the crime against humanity of other inhumane acts.
In 2022, the Supreme Court chamber formally recognized male victims of forced sexual intercourse during forced marriage, confirming they suffer sexual violence and mental harm. The court found that refusing to consummate a forced marriage was only possible by hiding the refusal at great personal risk. Kol Naim's testimony was used by the Supreme Court to support these findings. Expert witness Gazumi Nagagawa, a Japanese gender violence researcher, testified in Case 002/02 that Khmer Rouge mass weddings in 1977 and 1978 were tightly controlled. Couples were given little notice, paired with strangers, and forced to declare the marriage voluntary. She described the required consummations as legalized rape, explaining that both men and women were coerced, and that men were deeply traumatized by being forced to commit sexual acts under threat of punishment.
Forcing a man to rape somebody is an inhuman act. Not all men could do it, first of all, but they were forced to do that. And the fear is unmeasurable, how he was scared if he failed to do it.
Some men were sent to re-education center for refusing and failing to consummate the marriage. At the court hearing, internal statements and testimony revealed the thinkings behind it. Nuon Chea stated that Democratic Cambodia was pursuing rapid population growth, with plans to increase Cambodia's population from about 7.7 million to as many as 15 million within 5 to 10 years. Forced marriage became one of the tools to reach that goal, regardless of consent, love, or human cost. In 2018, Nuon Chea and Khieu Samphan were convicted of crime against humanity, including forced marriage and rape. Both were sentenced to life imprisonment. In the 2022 appeal judgment, the court ruled that forced sexual intercourse in forced marriage was gender neutral and that men were also victims of sexual violence.
The Supreme Court chambers of the Extraordinary Chamber marked the 22nd September 2022, the day for the pronouncement of case 002/02 against Khieu Samphan. The final verdict in this case will conclude case 002/02 as well as the whole case 002. After the 15 years proceedings, that is from the preliminary inquiry up until the trial stage, and then the final pronouncement of case of the judgment that is planned for 22nd of September 2022. Case 002/02 is very important because this case includes the former senior leaders of the Democratic Cambodia. Number one, Nuon Chea, former Deputy Secretary of Communist Party of Cambodia and former of the National Assembly of the Khmer Rouge. Number two, Khieu Samphan.
Call Name's story revealed a true long overlook. Under the Khmer Rouge, men were also denied autonomy over their bodies, their marriage, and their futures. Call Name's story reminds us that under the Khmer Rouge, even men were not free to choose their partners or their futures. His experience shows how completely Ang took control of people's personal life, turning marriage into an order rather than a choice. Like many others, he said yes, not because he wanted to, but because refusal could mean punishment, disappearance, or death. His testimony helped us understand that men also suffer deeply under forced marriage. Many carry silent pain, separated from the people they love, forced to marry strangers, and left to live with emotional wounds for the rest of their life. By hearing this episode, we recognize his strength. Telling this story is an act of healing and a reminder that every person deserves the right to choose love freely.
After hearing the story of men who become victims of forced marriage, right now we arrive at the final episode of the Krahaam Podcast. We revisit every step, every lesson, every truth we uncovered about Khmer Rouge. It reminds us that anyone can be a victim and everyone deserves to be heard. This story is produced by Ang Seav E, narrated and written by Vath Sok Heng, audio edited by Oeng Yekbuoy, researched by Heang Sokunmollika, supervised by Hean Socheata and Nov Povleakhena. Krahaam Podcast is the product of a final assignment submitted for the broadcast journalism and podcast production at the Department of Media and Communications of the Royal University of Phnom Penh. Thanks to the ECCC Resource Center for extensive support through the research of the Judicial Archive. Until next time.